Hey everyone, so my object of choice is the Rubik's Cube. I believe that this Rubik's Cube is a great representation of the self-concept, especially the three concepts that William James outlines in the text: the material self, the social self, and the spiritual self. So I got into the Rubik's Cube about halfway through high school, and a year or two earlier I had watched a video. It was actually a speech by a famous cross-country coach named Joe Newton. And in that speech, he quoted Aristotle in saying, life is only meaningful if you're striving for a goal. Well, 2 years later, I found myself halfway through my summer vacation working a part-time job, but outside of that job, I didn't really have anything I was striving for. Didn't have anything I was doing. Nothing material to strive after. And so I decided to take up the Rubik's Cube. I watched a bunch of tutorials, and it took me about a few weeks to figure out and solve. But once I solved that, and reached that goal, it brought meaning to me, and I was able to expand on that. And after reading the text, this is one of the first things that came to mind. I don't keep it on myself on a daily basis. I keep it in my room, but I'm in my room every day. And at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day after a long day, I usually come home and I play with it for a little bit, okay? I scramble it up, solve it a few times, whatnot. And I believe it's a great representation of myself. Obviously, this is the material. It represents me, but as a social concept, the book outlines that each person has as many social selves as they do people they come across with that recognize them. And what they're saying there is that with each person you interact with them differently. So if you're interacting with your sister, you interact with her differently than you would with your friend. And that's what they're trying to say about that. And that makes me think, when you scramble up the Rubik's Cube, there's many different ways that you can do it. There's obviously, when I scrambled it up this time, there's this row of 3 greens. I didn't mean to do that. Another time that I'll scramble it up, those greens will be somewhere else, and they probably won't be next to each other. Okay? And I think that's a good representation of the ambiguity that there is within communicating with others. The fact that you have many different selves, and depending on the person you're talking to, they'll be in a different position. Okay? You'll be acting differently. But in the end, you're still yourself, and in the end, I'm going to solve this cube no matter what, and the colors will be in their respective places in the end. I believe this is a really good representation of my spiritual self because I'm a very orderly person. I need order in my life to have meaning, to be sound, and I believe that's a very good representation of my spiritual self. No day is perfect, okay? So we wake up, we want to have a great day. Some days that just doesn't happen, okay? Everything gets out of order, nothing goes as planned. But even if that happens to me on a given day, if I can come home and this cube is here, I can scramble it up just like my day got scrambled, but I can put it back together. I can figure out how to put it back together. And it's given me meaning. It's given me meaning in my life. Just such a small little puzzle, able to do that. But yeah, those are the few reasons that I believe that this cube provides a self-concept, especially the 3 self-concepts that William James outlined: the material self, the social self, and the spiritual self. Thanks.